ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So today inshallah ta'ala, in still continuing discussing our book Al-Qawaa'id an-Nawawiyya, and we're discussing a hadith that is mentioned as hadith number 34 in this series, the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. And in discussing of this hadith, that we have covered several sessions or lessons in discussing this particular hadith. And in the previous lessons we have covered regarding discussing the hadith by way of first we mentioned the hadith, then also we just add a takhrij of the hadith by mentioning the source of the hadith, and also the different wording of the hadith, so the alfaz of the hadith. Then we discussed concerning matters pertaining what have been mentioned by the ulama regarding this particular hadith, its importance and status. Then we went in to discuss some of the wordings of the hadith, as Ali mentioned, man raha minkum munkar al-hadith. Then we discussed also regarding concerning the hadith meaning in general or in brief, and then we discussed the hadith meaning in more some tafsir, in more some details regarding this hadith. Then we went on to discuss matters pertaining to seeing out the hadith and its importance, and we discussed matter regarding of those qawaa'id that relate to this hadith regarding inkar al-munkar. So this hadith, it covers matter relating to, as the bab the ulama mentioned, al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy al-munkar, so encouraging of good and also forbidding of things of evil. So we discussed some points relating to this. So I mentioned those over 7 points relating to one of the books that we are some of those who have discussed this particular hadith, that we had mentioned over 7 or so points relating to this hadith, or qawaa'id. So in the last lesson we have discussed, I think, the 5th of those qawaa'id relating to al-amr regarding inkar al-munkar, where that particular one, that it is titled, the last what we did was title ish, this 5th, that we recall the 5th. So overall they mentioned that that's the 3rd. Then inshallah ta'ala today we'll go to al-i'tibar al-masalih wal-mafasid. So within this discussion regarding al-qawaa'id in relation to al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy al-munkar, of those qawaa'id that ulama mention, al-i'tibar al-masalih wal-mafasid. So the person also take into consideration matters pertaining to al-masalih, so benefits that can be derived and outcome that are positive, and also the person have to take into consideration in forbidding of evil also some negative outcomes. So weighing up. We'll cover that one.
That's why I think we talk about the different steps of denouncing things.
We'll discuss the different steps. That's what we stopped at. Oh. So you said we'll cover up until?
Putting things in the right order.
That's the one we stopped at.
Yeah, putting things in the right order.
Okay. Because السادس. So al-khamis, that was short. What is mentioned al-khamis, taqdeem aham al-muhim. So putting those things which is of more, giving things of priority. So in that matter, as we mentioned that, so just to repeat, or if we didn't, that regarding concerning this particular discussion regarding of those qawaa'id that relates to al-amr bil ma'ruf and nahy al-munkar, taqdeem al-muhim ala muhim. So take into consideration that that with of encouraging of good and forbidding of evil, that things are on different levels. So the person being able to prioritize those that have more importance over things that may be important, But then one have to prioritize. If there's a case where the person have to prioritize, then as to what to be given priority over other things. So the ulama mentioned regarding concerning of those things that will be prioritized regarding concerning inkar of munkar. As we mentioned that of those things, it will put al-ma'ruf in one category and al-munkar in the next category. So that's better mentioned that as those things regarding of the most of things that will be prioritized regarding at-tawheed. So matter rating tawheed / aqidah. So the person prioritizing in encouraging of good, clarifying matters in relation to the usul of the aqidah. So even matters concerning in aqidah, there are certain matters that of different levels and different degrees. So and then likewise will be the same regarding al-munkar. So on the next side of things, the opposite side of munkarat of the highest degree would be things regarding one having matters regarding ashirk wal kufr and regarding one aqidah. So of those things to be prioritized would be matters regarding aqidah, and then to see what's the opposite. If there's anything which is contradicting the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, al-aqidah to Salaf al-Salih, then those things now will be of the priority to correct those things. So matters aqidah and / matter that goes against the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, then those things will be prioritized regarding inkar or clarifying those matters. Then also of those things will be al-ikhlas. So regarding al-ikhlas, and then the next thing will be in line after aqidah would be things of ibadat. So in line, so aqidah, usul al-din. Then next would be matters that relates to ibadat, that to ensure that people that they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone in these acts of ibadat, also being able to identify what are said to be acts of ibadat and also what will contradict this. So ibadat, as-salat, as-siyam and the likes, al-zakat, al-hajj, wal-umrah. So these acts of ibadat that they will be giving priority. As I mentioned before, that teaching the people matters regarding as-salat, and also people may make errors in their salah, and vice versa. So the one, for example, at the time of Ramadan, the person going to somewhat put some concentration regarding clarifying the ahkam of siyam, and also clarify some of the shortcomings. The more said, those shortcomings or errors that becomes more widespread and that are more widespread amongst the people. So those will be concerning prioritizing of things. So prioritizing also things regarding, so al-bidah also be clarified regarding as-sunnah, al-ittiba' as-sunnah. So opposite of this will be clarifying things that goes in opposition will be things regarding al-bidah. So that will be considered as a method or a system regarding how to prioritize things. Regarding a dawah, inviting people to Islam, then the priority will be matter regarding at-tawheed, and following the way of the Anbiya. So those will be things to be mentioned regarding in putting things in some prioritizing of things. So as we mentioned regarding the Prophet Islam, and to give that to put that in context, when the Prophet Islam was in his early days of dawah in Medina, that in Mecca, so in the early days in Mecca, in giving of dawah for over 13 years, that a lot of the emphasis was on matters regarding Islah al-Aqidah. And some acts of ibadat was introduced later in Mecca, but the priority, things were centered around the correct Aqidah. Matters regarding at-tawheed, clarifying what is shirk, and so those things were emphasized during those years, and also clarifying matters regarding ash-shirk wal khurafat. So those are the things that they mentioned, and they mentioned regarding concern also the Prophet Islam. Also in the case of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when the Prophet Islam sent him to Yemen, he mentioned to him and give him advice that you're going to this place and to give dawah and to serve Islam, then these are the things that you should take into consideration regarding how you approach those people and how you bring Islam to those people. Where the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمْ أَهْلِ كِتَابٍ, that you're going to a people from Ahl Kitab. فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلْ مَا تَدْعُ إِلَيْهِ شَهَادَةً لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. So the Prophet ﷺ first clarified to him that knowing one, the people that you're going to, have an idea of the people that you're approaching. Then second, then know concerning what's the people that you're approaching. Second, the message that you're supposed to deliver to them. What is that message? So the message which is Islam. But then as to what would be the things to start with. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned regarding concerning of those things, أول ما تدعون إليه شهادة لا إله إلا الله. That the first thing that you call them, invite them to, clarify to them, which is the shahada of La ilaha illallah. وأن محمد رسول الله. So matters regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at-Tawheed, and matters regarding al-Risalah, regarding prophethood, Nabuwa, matters regarding al-Nabuwa. So the first thing to bring to their attention is this matter. Then he mentioned, فَإِنْ هُمْ أَتَاؤُكَ لذلك فاعلمهم أن الله افترض عليهم 5 صلوات في كل يوم وليلة. Then he mentioned that the next thing, if they kind of somewhat, those who have take this on and accept this, then the next thing to bring to their attention is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in that sense, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made compulsory upon them 5 صلوات في يوم وليلة. And he mentioned أن الله افترض, not you, not me, mentions that us. You understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who have made compulsory upon you these 5 salah. So the person understand this is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone else is just who's just a communicator. One just propagating the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to connect the people back, that these instruction is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes you find that one given dawah, that kind of somewhat as if the connection is through us, it's from us. You understand? So we become like the source. We become the reference. Rather than something, this thing is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This thing is not from me. But today, you understand, a person that likes to be said to be the person that, you are the one. That you are the one. Either Imam Malik or Imam Shafi, alayhi rahmatullah ta'ala, used to mention that the same is considered أَنَّا يَنْصَبْ إِلَيْهَا شَيْءٍ, that they prefer concern to know anything that we have teach people, don't refer it back to me. Don't make me be the source. So you'll find the ulama have a different approach today. Everyone likes to be the person we're the source of things. We're the reference point for people. So those are the things that we have to shy away from. Then it mentioned that regarding this after that, they mentioned that فَعْلَمْهُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ افترض عليهم صدقة. Then also if they accept, this man mentioned as sadaqah, so ad-dawah, and also concerning which is in this case al-amr bil ma'ruf, encouraging good upon the people, bringing good upon the people, that things are done in tadarruj. Things are done in tadarruj. So just as encouraging good, instructing, encouraging good amongst the people, advising the people about good, and it is done in tadarruj, and it's done in stage by stage. Then the same thing regarding inkar al-munkar. Inkar al-munkar also, that things are done at times, you have to kind of somewhat to prioritize things and do things in stages. Then so that's concerning that matter in general, and we had mentioned that so al-inkar, so with this matter regarding taqdeem umur, that to understand that munkarat is not the same, not all of them on the same degree and not the same hukum. So in general, might say all of these things are haram, ma'asi, but also they tafawut. So for the person also to understand this concept, that munkarat, evil, on different levels. And then for the person so you have of the higher degree of munkar, which would be what? The highest level of munkarat. Ash-shirk wal-kufr. So shirk wal-kufr. Then next in line would be, as we say, ad-dhunub. So next in line would be things of bid'ah. Next in life, al-bid'ah. So things of bid'ah, wal-khurafat, would be things that would be next in line. Then of those things that will come in line also, we said that in general we have al-dhunub, and also dhunub and ma'asi, you have kabahir wa saghahir. And also you have things that based upon urf of the people, it considered to be it is considered to be things that are disliked. Not per se in the Sharia is said to be haram, but based upon the urf, the custom of the people and how people function, some people that they may dislike of certain things, but it's not completely haram. So they're putting things in different, in that knowing that where things lie on the scheme of munkarat. So those are the things concerning that in inkar al-munkar, that how to prioritize of things. What to busy the people with, what not to busy the people with. What's affecting them, affecting the people directly, and that which is not so, putting things in their right order and place. Then the next of those things, that's the sixth. Or the fifth, sorry. So go to the next, which would be the sixth. Al-Qa'ida, Al-Qa'idatu As-Sadisa. I'tibar al-Masalih wal-Mafasid. So in the next one, the next of those Qawaa'id regarding inkar al-munkar, al-i'tibar al-mafasid, al-masalih wal-mafasid. So of those things that Islam take into consideration regarding al-masalih wal-mafasid. So matters regarding take into consideration regarding trying to establish of good, and also how to remove of evil and to rid of evil, removing of evil. So this is within this of those things the person of the evil can put in its right order and its right balance, al-masalih wal-mafasid. So trying to engage in that particular discussion. So those things, as they mentioned, that al-masalih wal-mafasid, that different things that you may have to factor in. Different things that one have to factor in. So of those things, the ulama mentioned that is of those things that a person have to take into consideration. And of this, with the Prophet ﷺ, that in the Hadith, in the Bukhari, with the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the Hadith by stating the Hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, and the Prophet قال لها, the Prophet said to her, Ya Aisha, lawla qawmik, that Aisha, that if it was it not qawmik hadith ahd, yani bil kufr, that if your people, when the people of Quraysh of Mecca, that were not people were very recent to Islam. Nam la naqadtu al-Kaaba, I would have destroyed the Kaaba, wa ja'altu laha babain, and then in rebuilding it, I would have made it having two doors, because the Kaaba had one door. So he mentioned regard, but due to the fact, then it mentioned that bab yadkhul an-nas wa bab yakhrujun, that one of the bab for the people to enter and another for the people to exit. So that's the normal practice, that in building of any building, that should have one door where people exit, and sometimes, especially buildings that are, build a certain type of building that will have an exit and one to exit and one to exit. So public buildings. So the Prophet ﷺ kind of somewhat had that idea, but he didn't. Even though he said there's a benefit, but he left things as it was, which is just one bab. So is being able to put those things into play. So al-masalih wal-mafasid, as we mentioned, al-masalih is what is dictated by the Sharia. Wal-mafasid, what also dictated by the Sharia. So at times we might use different things to make that calculation. What is masalih? What is mafasid? At times a person might decide as what is masalih based upon his country. Another time a person based upon is people that based upon his jama'ah, his hizb. So those things are something to be careful of, those things being introduced in deciding what is masalih wal mafasid. So overall, they mentioned that those are the things that to be considered. Then you might have cases where now that when they start now to clash, then that now become where the person has to know how to put those things in their proper perspective. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi and of the ulama mentioned regarding concern of this matter, that if you find regarding concerning that they mention in general, the asl regarding masalih wal mafasid, that the Muslim can al-jalb al-masalih, that try to bring about good, put in place and having good to flourish, and also the rid of evil, dar mafasid, or dafal mafasid. So trying to encourage of good and to let it flourish and to spread, and also to remove of evil. To remove of evil. So that mentions that's the asl. So the asl, establishing good for it to flourish, and also to eradicate of evil. But then they mentioned, so in these cases that they mentioned, that you might, so that's concerning the asl. But you might find cases where that other things have to be considered, and things may be where they mentioned that in a person trying to make inkar of an evil, bring about, replace it with another evil, similar, or with a greater evil. So you want to make inkar, rid of an evil, eradicate an evil. But if you do so, it's going to be replaced by another evil, similar to it, or greater. So what you do now? There's an evil that is existing at the moment, that is present. But in challenging, replacing that evil, trying to eradicate that evil, another evil, you won't move it, it will go. But then something will be replaced by another evil, or a greater evil. So what to be done? In that case, you leave that evil. In that case, you let things, you remain silent. With me? Clear for everyone?
Yes.
So you have an evil that is existing. But if you remove it, what will be replaced by it will be another evil, not something good, but only another evil. And that or something worse. Then what you do in that case? You leave it. Because if you were to remove it, you just exchange it into something evil, another evil, and or something of a greater evil. So in that case, sukut. La yajuz al-inkar of that present evil, because it will bring about a more greater evil. Or I mentioned that removing, so in that case, la yajuz taghir al-munkar, or removing it, and it will bring about something which is similar. So in those cases, Adam, Jawaz, Inkar, or Taghir, and Munkar. So the general thing is that if anything will be aqal, it become less, then yes. But anything that is equal or worse, then no. With this, that Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali, he has a book that is called Muqtasar Minhaj al-Qasidin, that he mentioned regarding concern in this book, that he mentioned concern Ahwal Taghir Munkar. Ahwal, so in Masalih wal Mafasid, weighing up the benefits and the harm, that they mention that in this, that we're adding, that he mentioned, Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali, that he mentioned that Ahwal Taghir al-Munkar arba. So ahwal, the different circumstances in changing an evil, it mentioned 5 cases. The first he mentioned, أن يعلم المسلم أن الإنكار أن المنكر يزول بقول أو بفعل من غير مكروه يلحقه. That he mentioned that the first case, that a Muslim is aware, that he believes, strongly believes, that in eradicating that munkar by way of his action or by his statement, it will be removed. And there's no harm that will come back to him. With me? So he's going to challenge that munkar, and he's able to can remove it, but also nothing will come back to him negatively. So in that case, become wajib upon him to make inkar. In that case, it's wajib upon him to make inkar. That's the first. The second, that an ya'lam an-nahi, that the person who wants to forbid that evil, anna kalamuhu, that his speech la yanfa, that whatever he says or do will not bring about any benefit. Won't change anything. It won't change anything. Then I mention وَأَنَّهُ إِن تَكَلَّمْ دُرِبْ, and if he does speak, You'll be tortured. You're going to be whipped. As we say today, you'll be tortured, or I must say be imprisoned, or the likes. Nam. So in that case they mention هذا لا يرفع عنه هذا يرفع عنه الوجوب. In that case, it's not wajib on him to make inkar. Because if he does so, that he will be faced with harm, severe harm. Then the next case he mentioned, and يعلم المسلم, that a Muslim know, أن الإنكاره لا يفيد. So the third case, that a person, that the Muslim, if he makes inkar, challenge that matter, criticize that matter, لا يفيد. It's not going to benefit. ولكنه لا يخاف المكروه. But he himself, he doesn't fear whatever come. I'll deal with it. With me? So in this case, he will believe that if he makes inkar, it will not benefit anything. But he himself, he's not afraid of what? The consequence that may come back to him. Imprison him, do this, do that. He doesn't care as to the consequence that will come back to him. Mention, لا يجب عليه. So in that case though, it is not, even though he does not fear of the consequence that will come back to him, it is not compulsory. لا يجب عليه. يعني الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر لعدم الفائدة. Based upon, if he forbids or encourages that thing, there's no benefit going to come from it. رجل مسكين, no one knows him. Something being done by a ministry. He say anything, no one even knows that. It doesn't change anything. It accounts to nothing. So they mentioned that in that case, they mentioned that, so it's not yajib, la yajib alayhi, so it's not compulsory upon it, but I mentioned with that case though, walakin yustahab, but it becomes, it mentioned that it is mustahab, al-inkar, still for him to make that inkar, li-idhar sha'ab Islam. So those make inkar just kind of somewhat to, just to still show the point of, so as to kind of someone to show concern for the person to manifest that sha'ar, that symbol of Islam. With me?
Symbol of Islam being nahy al-munkar.
No, he said that in that case, the person that is an unknown talib. You understand? But something going on, but he wants to make inkar about it. But it's a big matter. But he's a person which is unknown. Now, in that case for him, and he himself, he has no fear of whatever consequence come back to him. He doesn't care. Now, that in that case for him to make inkar is not compulsory. Because him doing so, it will not bring about any benefit. No changes, no benefit. He's not recognized by anyone. In that case, it's not compulsory upon him to make inkar, but it is still mustahab for it to be done so as to manifest the symbol of Islam of inkar al-munkar. And to remind the people and to let whoever listen, even said the people who listen to him are not people, they understand that that thing is haram or the likes. Min bab tazkir. But even though said it will not change anything, the people who are doing it, they're not going to change it. They're not going to stop what they're doing. With me? So you might have us something said. So you have those cases, and so
say for example, there's people that being wronged, for example.
Okay, give an example. For example, from a country, they have a department that they invite. They have music and those things in their country. Big festival, music festival. Now, international music festival for a week. Now, and that is led by the state. It's a state organized program. Music concert for 1 whole week. Now, and they spend millions on the people who come. طيب a miskin imam in his masjid, the same, that's imam unknown, make inkar. But that will not change. He knows what I'm saying, will not presage, stop anything that's going to happen. He knows that. In that case, for that person, so, but he knows it's going to happen next week, this festival. So in the Jummah, he's contemplating, should I discuss the topic or not? But he knows whatever I say, it will not change anything, stop anything from occurring. But he knows that the consequence may be that he may be this, that, he may be removed from his position or disappear or whatever. But he says, I don't care. Whatever happened. So in that case, he's contemplating, should I do this thing? But also if I do, I don't care. In that case, for him, it's not compulsory upon him to make inkar, because there's no fa'idah. It would not change anything, even though he doesn't fear the consequence upon himself. With me? So, but if it was to be done by way of to kind of somewhat to show that there are those who disapprove, even though it changes nothing. So in that sense, so those who may hear, even though the people may hear, then nothing will change for them, but at least is symbolizing this principle regarding inkar al-munkar. Clear? So in that context, as an example,
situation, the person who's doing the inkar is rewarded for doing so, but he's supposed to have, right?
in that case, it said, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, inkar of munkar, you understand? So you have two in a person, inkar of munkar, you said that as a said, that's the asl, that's the foundational expectation. In the case it becomes haram is if the person in making inkar, or I mentioned the case before, but it will bring about a greater evil. And you know that. You understand that the evil that I might replace this thing, but what will come with it will be even greater. You understand? Then those are the things. Then that's sinful. But in this case, يرجو له يعني الثواب عند الله سبحانه وتعالى. So the fourth case that I mentioned, أن يعلم الناهي عن المنكر أنه يصاب بالمكروه, that a person who وحده, that a person who is forbidding that evil, that he knows or expect that in making inkar upon that thing, criticizing of that thing, that evil will come back to him, but only to him. So no one will be affected but him. نعم ولكن so in that case, but even though he knows not evil come back to him, but also he knows not that can help to eradicate that munkar.
Okay.
You understand? So in this case, that is going to make inkar, but you understand that the consequence that I'm going to be affected, most likely I may be affected. But by my action that I'm going to do, it will impact on that thing.
Self-sacrifice, basically.
Huh?
Self-sacrifice.
Hey, so you understand? So he's willing to, you understand, but you know, it will have an impact, a big impact on that evil, being somewhat be removed or become much less. So in that case they mention أنه يسقط عنه الوجوب. But I said even with this they mentioned that it is that it become, they mentioned here that's not أنه يسقط عنه الوجوب, that it is not compulsory upon him, but it still remain mustahab. يبقى الاستحباب. Clear? So that's what is mentioned here regarding those things of the book of Ibn Qudama. That our next masala that to add to this, that they mention تغيير المنكر الذي يترتب عليه ضرر للآخرين. That in removing, in eradicating evil, but the consequence would be that others would be affected. So if you take a stand, you may be affected, but also others. Not just you, others. So I mentioned that so in these cases regarding concerns that ينبغي أن يعلم أنه إذا غلبت على ظن من ينهى عن المنكر أنه إذا قام بتغيير هذا منكر أنه يتعدى الضرر والأذى الكبير إلى أحد من أقاربه. So I mentioned that we got concerned that case regarding that for a person kind of someone to also to take into consideration, understand that if you kind of somewhat believe that in I standing up and discussing, trying to eradicate that munkar, that evil, that other people would be affected. Other people would be affected and be harmed by this. So by my action of trying to eradicate that evil, other people would be pulled into it and going to be will be affected. There could be my aqarib, my family members. It could be my companions, ashabi, my companions. It could be maharim, my family members and wife, children and the likes. Also, and others, and general, and maybe other people in the community. Now, so I might do something, and the person may do something, not me, a person might do something, but he's said to be like a talib al-ilm, which is well known, an alim. But if he does it, then other talabatul ilm will be pulled into it. They're going to be affected. Where the people start to look, okay, into the talib al-ilm, let's kind of somewhat clamp down on all the tulab al-ilm. Because they may be on the same mindset. So you understand that if I make this move in trying to change this evil, there's going to be a consequence not just only on me, or even not on me, but also other people. Others will be affected. So I mentioned that in those cases regarding a person, in this case concerning that, and also those people that they themselves are not in agreement with you making that inkar. They themselves, those other people, they're not per se that regarding concerning that they're not in favor and agreement because they know the consequence that is going to affect them. Not per se that so the evil see it as evil, but if you challenge it, they know you're going to be affected, but also us. So we are concerned about you challenging that evil because it's going to affect others. Clear? So in those cases, they mention لم يجز له التغيير هذا منكر. So in that case, the person should not challenge or try to change that munkar. ويصبح الترك النهي عن المنكر في هذه حالة. So they mention so it becomes that the person leaving, challenging or trying to change that evil in this particular circumstance becomes wajib. Because it's going to have negative consequence on others. So those are the things concerning masal wal mafasid. So after masalih wal mafasid, the person have to bear all those things, take those things into consideration. So the last of the points that I mentioned, al-qaida to as-sabi'ah.
It was number 6 years.
And this is 7.
So in the one you just mentioned before, so it's only one of them that was wajib for him to not do the inkar. The other one one of them was mustahab, one of them was makruh, one was and that one of them was wajib.
The first one.
And, hey, in certain cases become wajib, that a person can remove the evil and, you understand, no consequence. It goes. You understand? So, that becomes wajib.
So what was the second one after that?
So said, and yalam, the second, so I mentioned the first, and yalam al-Muslim anna Al-munkar yazul biqawlihi wa fi'lihi. So the person, the first one, that him taking action, then it will be, the munkar will be removed and there's no evil to come back on him, to come back to him. Then in that case, it becomes wajib. He has to stand his, then he has to make inkar. Because there's, it will remove the evil and also there's no evil to come back on him. So it becomes, he has no excuse.
Wajib to do it, and there's one that's wajib to not do it.
Hey, so the other one, so let's quickly go for the other ones. So I mentioned the second one, I just mentioned that that a person who made the inkar by his speech, there's no fa'idah.
No fa'idah, yeah.
There's no benefit. La yanfa. Not said that. La yanfa. That not bring about any benefit. But if he does speak, he's going to be harmed.
Yeah, just him.
Yeah, in this case, him. So in this case, he will be harmed. Nam said not be in prison, whatever, but some harm will come to him. You understand? So in that case, that yarfa anhu al-wujub. In that case, becomes not compulsory upon him. Nam, that, and if he does, then that's upon him. That is to see that, because sometimes the book that see that even if the person still insists to do it, it becomes still la bas upon him to do it in this case. You understand? But I mentioned in this case that al-wujub marfu anhu. The third case they mentioned that an yalam al-muslim anna inkaruhu la yafid. Again, that it's not going to benefit. Nam.
He will be harmed.
But in this case, the third case that there's he doesn't fear no harm that comes. He doesn't business about. He doesn't care about what comes, whatever the consequence that comes upon him. Just him. So this case is just him. He doesn't care whatever you want to do to me. I don't care. Nam. So they mentioned the case, it is still, because there's no fa'idah, no benefit will come from it, it's not compulsory. But if he does so, it is mustahab by way of still demonstrating that inkar al-munkar still remains. Nam. So can someone to someone to demonstrate that this thing still exists in Islam. You still speak it up, even though not much will come from it, but you don't really care either.
What if you go somewhere and you don't know anything? You don't know if it's going to benefit, you're going to cause you harm, you're going to cause someone else harm. Do you still do it or you leave it?
That's mala ijtihad. You understand? That's the thing. So I'm saying, go back. The main thing is that will that munkar be changed? Will it be changed?
You don't know.
And then leave it. Tawakkuf. He doesn't know all those things, those factors. You understand? So the person understands. So all those things that are unknown, then and what may come, then we said the fourth one. We mentioned the fourth.
This is the fourth one.
So the fourth one we said that anziyana banahi and munkar annahu yasab bil makruh. That a person wahda. That the fourth case answer the person that in making forbidding of that evil, that he knows that is going to have it will come back to him, repercussions. Now, but only on him. Only he will be tested. Now, but also he can, by his action, he can have an impact on the evil. Now, so in that case, they mentioned that wujub is removed, but istihbab still remain. Yeah, so you understand where you so in that those four said a fifth case we mentioned be the fifth one. You want to mention another fifth one? That the fifth will be that the person if he intervenes in this matter, that others will be affected. That will be like a fifth scenario. Now other would be drawn into it. Nam.
That's the one that's wajib for him to not do inkar.
And that one also wajib, because that will have impact upon others. So tark wajib, they mention أن يصبح الترك النهي عن المنكر في هذه حالة واجبة. So لأن تغيير هذا التغيير لا تتحقق إلا بمنكر أعظم منه. And the reason becomes that they're going to be the consequence is that it's going to impact severely than other people. That's now become the other evil that's going to come from it. That become now a separate evil that will come from, where now other people would be affected. Mashi? So we say the seventh. السابع, that I mentioned, the next that I mentioned as these قواعد في إنكار المنكر تثبت في الأمور وعدم العجلة. So that's the seventh and the final of those قواعد, that a person not to be that تثبت. So the person gonna somewhat to, we say تثبت, that will be for the person to what? تثبت.
Contemplate and make sure.
تثبت, to verify things. You understand? To verify things. So to verifications of things. So تثبت في الأمور. So if it's information that you're receiving, verify, you understand, about this munkar that you're not aware of. Make sure that information is what? Sound. You understand? To تثبت في الأمور, that is verifying, checking things. You understand? That things are sound and valid. Because you're trying now to intervene. And I mentioned وَأَدَمْ الْأَجَلَ, not to be hasty to make moves without verification. And checking and investigate to ensure that, you know, that munkar, that this munkar actually taking place or in place or is occurring. So تثبت في الأمور وعدم العجلة. So that's the thing regarding concern a person involved in إنكار المنكر, that he has to verify things. One has to verify things. As mentioned by Subhanahu, إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. So I mentioned regarding concern that a person comes with information, one, to verify the reason concern, the consequence, and تصيبوا قوم, that you may affect a people, others, because of your ignorance, where you didn't verify things. And you're acting without verification and investigation. So, and then you become one who, you kind of somewhat, you become sorry for what you did. Because now you have harmed others. So it shows regarding تثبت في الأمور. So تثبت in matters. So I mentioned تثبت, ta'anni, that a person also have to, you understand, to verify things. Look into things. Check things. So that's an adam tasarru, wal ajala, not be hasty to take action without verification and investigation. So that's concerning that, and that kind of somewhat it speaks for itself regarding that matter. So I mentioned concerning adahi, or concerning the one who wish to forbid of evil. Don't just take what other people say, but verify for yourself. So if there's something regarding concerns the ta'anni wa tatabbut, that there's something that a person reported regarding them, that go and verify for yourself. I take the information that you have given me, but also either I ask you, can you also bring supporting evidence for what you're saying? What can you give to me as proof regarding these things actually occurring? So either something, so you find that, you know, that so these things of munkar, that so if there's something that at times you might have to hear for yourself. If the person has said something, can you let me hear it? It's recorded, and you said a person said this thing, then let me hear it also. It's something that you have written, or wrote, or said, before you can somewhat take action, then verify it. Verify the matter. Verify the matter. And the person also in verification, the person bring sources that are credible. Bring credible sources. And also, as a process of verifying things, that sometimes a person might say that people understand things different. People view, you understand what was said, you understand this, but the person, you understand, so verification as its own process. But the main thing, to verify that matter with credible sources. And I mentioned regarding, so that's concerned that the dahi, he has someone to be mindful regarding that, regarding concern to another, that Also we're going to that to look to see what are the consequence. Al-aqiba. What will be the consequence of this? What comes after?
Tathabbut. It's important for a person to return that affair to a person of knowledge.
No, say that the thabbut from your sons, it may vary. That you have, if a person comes information and say that if on your side, before you pass on to anyone else, you should understand that. No, they said that for you to verify the information yourself. You understand? So you say that this person or whatever the thing is that the person brings to you, okay, can you verify this to me first and foremost? So convince me. So is the information actually correct? Because I don't want to bring it to someone else and the information is incorrect. Because if the information is incorrect, there's no need for me to discuss with anyone else. The information, that thing needs to drop. Stop there. You may pass it on. So if the information has been verified, you understand, depending on what the matter is, you understand, then to take it on to others regarding how to deal with the situation. What's the best way now to deal with the situation? You might consult others in how to, you understand, to deal with the situation. As I said, because the person will look concerning what are some of the consequences, the ramification that comes with it. Now, where you do things where, you understand, you yourself are not remorseful of what you did. You took the wrong decision because you didn't go through certain steps.
You know, the ayah says, "In ja'akum fasiqun." So if someone that's deeper comes to you and said, okay, this thing happened, because the ayah says, "In ja'akum fasiqun." Even someone that's deeper, do you have to really verify, like, greatly, or you just say, okay, the person that brought you to me is someone that is trustworthy?
So I said that's regarding the information, verification of the information.
No.
As for the action that comes after, then that's a different matter. You with me? So the information may be correct, but then the action that comes, so you might have first to verify the information, but then as for now, what to be done after, then that may, you understand, to be looked at, to look concerned to know what's the arc about, what's the best way to bring about, you understand, to deal with this matter. So maybe the information may be correct, but the approach in trying to rectify the matter is incorrect. So you have different stages and process. But the first stage is to verify the information, verify that things actually as it is claimed, and that's that is actually a munkar. And that, so that would be, as we'll discuss next. So that's of the thing regarding tathabbut, and also that evidence is provided as required or as needed. And we said that goes with that the next thing concerning that the person concerned to know absar al-aqiba, that also to look at the consequence, what comes after. Now, what will come after? We don't want doing things that you shouldn't have done because you didn't per se take into concern, what will come, they said, come after. And they mentioned on the Prophet regarding the tathabbut fil umur, that they mentioned the hadith of Anas bin Malik that قال أن النبي عليه السلام إذا غزا بنا, that the Prophet that when he performed a ghazwa, a battle with us, قوم لم يكن يغزو بنا, that حتى يصبح وينظر, that the Prophet before he can somewhat attack those people. So when they go with the Prophet regarding matters, war matters, that before the Prophet will actually now attack those people, of the thing that he will wait and see regarding concerns, وينظر. So he will wait and kind of somewhat, and watch to see regarding وإن سمع أذان, if he hears the adhan, كف عنهم, then he would not attack them. So he showed us that he will try to verify things and different ways of verifying things. So if that group of people that they are Muslim or not, he will wait and see, do I hear the adhan? Naam. So that's one way to verify that those people are Muslim or not. That so if you don't adhan that, most likely they're not Muslim. So different ways of verification. So before taking action, verify things. Before taking action, just verify things. Then I mentioned, so that's concerning the hadith that discuss those particular. So verifying of matters is important. So that's concerning in general those points regarding those 7 points. Then to end, inshallah ta'ala, this discussion that we'll mention lastly, that the ulama mentioned adab, al-adab fi inkar al-munkar. What are those adab? Adab, inkar al-munkar. The one who wish now to forbid evil. What are some of those adab, the person then, that they should possess? What's the manners in the person that in approaching those things? So they mention of those adab that are said, 1, al-ikhlas. So the adab, inkar al-munkar, al-ikhlas. Ikhlas al-amal lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala wahda. So the person having ikhlas, of sincerity, ikhlas, regarding that thing that he wants to change. So even change of evil, the person can somewhat be focused regarding that of the right intention. Of the right intention. So the person might try to make inkar upon a thing, but he wants fame from it. He wants fame and attention and this and that. So the person, al-ikhlas, is important. Ikhlas is important. Second of those things that are required or mentioned regarding the adab, inkar al-munkar, that they mention al-ilm. And some mention al-hikmah. So the person try to manage between both those two things. Al-ilm wa al-hikmah. So ilm, in knowing what is, as we discussed before, that the person know that this thing is actually a munkar. So al-ilm is of those things the person should possess knowledge, where at least that thing you want to forbid, you know the ruling on it Islamically. So having ilm of the adab wal hikmah, and also approaching, try to use al-hikmah. Some form of wisdom, having good approach. The third, my number is the third that is mentioned, al-rifq wal-lin fi ibtida al-inkar al-munkar. So initially in trying to eradicate and make inkar, forbid evil, the person approached in a way regarding in his Qawaa'id way al-rifq wal-lin. So try the person being gentleness, kindness. That's initially that's what's required. Said later on, if things change, after the person things change later, then the person can use more shiddah. After you have clarified to the person, and the person that they are not acknowledging this and they know it is wrong, then the person can use more severe measure, which is, I will mention, ash-shiddah, wal-hajar, and the likes. So الرفق واللين في ابتداء في بداية الإنكار المنكر وحسن الخلق. And also the person that they try to also in their mannerism that they approach also use حسن الخلق, good mannerism. As I mentioned, what we said, that Sufyan was that Usnul Khulq, we said Al-Rif wal-Lin, that Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned regarding concerning that Al-Rifq, Sabil al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa-Nahi an-al-Munkar. That Sufyan al-Thawri, he mentioned, that's Ibn Taymiyyah. Al-Rifq, Sabil al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa-Nahi an-al-Munkar. That Ibn Taymiyyah, that he mentioned that al-Rifq is the pathway of encouraging of good and forbidding of evil. Sufyan al-Thawri, he mentioned لا يأمر ولا ينهى إلا من كان رفيقا فيما يأمر رفيقا فيما ينهى. That Sufyan al-Thawri mentioned that لا يأمر ولا ينهى, that no one should encourage something, command something, nor forbid something, except كان رفيقا, except the person that is gentle. You use gentleness. فيما يأمر, in the thing that you are encouraging, and also فيما ينهى, and the thing that you are forbidding. So we said initially, the person, and as much as possible, the person tried to adorn himself with a rifq, walin. We said the person that, the person being somewhat being arrogant, and after matter been clarified, that then that's a different approach. Then a shiddah can come later. Then the next of those things that they mentioned, that of those cases that he mentioned last part regarding Musa alayhi salam, as Musa alayhi salam and his brother Harun, that Allah subhanahu mentioned where he said, اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه إيش طغى. So that's Musa alayhi salam and his brother Harun to approach Fir'aun. They mention اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa and Harun to approach who? Fir'aun. And they mention فإنه طغى, that is a person that that have gone above the the limits. They mention فقولا له قولا لين, that speak to him in a word which is gentle, and that's Fir'aun. That's Fir'aun. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling Musa, so I said initially that the approach was to be nice to him, use kind words and the likes. So that's concerning that that matter. The next of those things they mentioned, that al-bad binafs, that in forbidding of evil, the person also had to start with yourself. In encouraging of good and evil, that of the adab, that you start with yourself. It's not wajib that the only way you can forbid evil unless you yourself is avoiding that evil. That's not the case. So a person might forbid something even though you're not doing it, or you may fall into it. With me?
That's different to the people at the Yehudi that would do it without any intention of, like, they will be happy going to it.
Hey, so the person that that you're doing it to others, but you yourself see it as not, that's not me.
That's blameworthy. That's the.
And not blameworthy. You kind of somewhat you see yourself, not them and me. What applies to them does not apply to me. Then that's different. So a person might say, "Now I know that thing to be haram." You understand? So I'm saying at this moment it come up, I'm talking to you, but maybe I have done it. But in this case, I mean, you understand, I'm just bringing this to your attention. But he knows that, yes, I may understand of that fault, but it doesn't mean, it doesn't stop and block that person from, you understand, caution others about it. With me? So, for example, a person that he prays sometimes and sometimes he misses salah. It doesn't mean that he cannot see a person who, you understand, but there's a Muslim. Said the brother, stop that, that encourage that person to pray. With me? So because the person not perfect, so to be perfection is not a criteria for you to encourage good or forbid evil. So you might have, so whatever shortcomings you may have or we may have, so whatever shortcomings that we all may have, it doesn't mean that we cannot encourage good and forbid evil. Then in that case, then nothing will be done.
Is that saying in a similar case where a person is trying to give someone command good and evil, and the person that you're giving it to, you say, "Oh, but you ain't studied, or you ain't a talib."
And to encourage good, said that. So encouraging of good, it doesn't require the person have to be a talib. You understand? Is that the person know the hukum on that matter? On the matter, you just know the hukum on that matter. So that said, so it's not this high standard has to be in place before you can forbid evil or encourage good. You see, you don't have to be a talib al-ilm, you don't have to be an imam, you don't have to be Shaykh al-Islam. That's not a criteria. It's the fact that you know that that particular thing that I'm talking to you about, it is haram, then that's it. That's it. Within that remit. So the person might say, okay, but you do it. I said, yeah, I know I'm doing it, but it doesn't mean I can't tell you what you're doing is haram. Then we mentioned before concerning at-taqdeem, al-ham. So I mentioned that the person starts with those things which is prioritizing of things, with tadarruj. So we have mentioned those things, and masalih wal mafasid, murat al masal wal mafasid. So those things that we had covered those things before. So those things go together. Then I mentioned also as-sabr. So regarding forbidding of evil, encouraging of good requires as-sabr. Requires the person to have sabr wa tahammul adha. The person also that you can bear pressure. You understand? Because sometimes when you forbid evil, know that people, you understand that it comes with some form of where people may not like you. You understand? No one like to be corrected. So you have some negative backlash, but it shouldn't be every, you understand? So you have to be able to you understand, deal with those things. Now, so people sometimes will fall out with you because of this. That you're forbidding of evil, but those are things that comes with it. In those things that make sure that all of that in those matters they try to be the one who's in the right. That's all they can do. That what you're doing is from what you're doing that that I'm in the right per se, where what I'm trying to establish is something which is within Islam. Yes. Then I mention يعني اختيار الوقت والظروف والوسائل المناسبة. So of those things they mentioned that also try to do the right time and situation, also that sometimes to take into consideration, and the proper way to go about doing it. The wasail, the means to go about doing it, to make that inkar. So sometimes maybe things you have to do is not that to be immediate, and at times it's something you can think about the best approach. At times maybe immediate is on you. So some action have to be taken immediate. And at times you have a little time span that you can, you understand, think things out and see what's the best approach. So those things also to be considered as the adab. So that inshallah ta'ala will end this topic. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهادي إلى السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله نبينا.
See, for
5 minutes.
to understand, like for a person to understand the Messiah or the passage, what tools would you need or what